So when I think about summer cocktails, bourbon is not the first thing that comes to my mind. Normally it's a summer spritz, maybe something gin, and you know what? I've been missing bourbon. I love an old fashioned, I love a Manhattan. You could still drink these in the summer, but I normally associate them with like cozy, warm fireplace vibes. So I decided I was going to look up summery bourbon cocktails. And you're in luck because I found 3 recipes that I think are pretty great. Let's head to the bar. First up, we are going to make a mint julep. Mint julep is really simple. It just calls for some bourbon, mint leaves, some sugar or simple syrup, and crushed ice. We're gonna start off with 4 or 5 fresh mint leaves. Give them a little slap, because that helps release the aroma. We're gonna put it straight into the glass. Now I will say there is actually a classic mint julep or a classic julep glass. I don't have one of those. And if you don't have one either, you can either use a tall Collins glass or feel free to use an old-fashioned glass, that works too. So you're gonna put the mint right into the glass and then either ½ an ounce of simple syrup or you can use a teaspoon of white sugar. White sugar is actually one of like the more classic ways to do it. And then you're supposed to muddle the sugar and the mint together. I don't have a muddler, so I'm gonna use the bottom of a wooden spoon. And you're just pressing the mint and sugar together. This is going to help release the oils in the mint, get it fragrant, and just combine the ingredients a little bit. Nice. Now what we can actually do to help work these ingredients together is add a little bit of crushed ice to help put a little bit more pressure on the mint and the sugar to help with the muddling. So once you've done a good bit of muddling, we're going to add in 2½ ounces of bourbon. I'm using Bullet bourbon today because, to be honest, that's the only bourbon I have. I'm gonna use Bullet bourbon in all of the cocktails today because I do not have a huge range of spirits. This is an at-home cocktail channel. So yeah, it's one of those things where like, we don't have a full bar here. That would be really expensive. So we just work through 1 bottle pretty much at a time. Fill a glass with crushed ice. I'm lucky because I have an ice crusher on our fridge. If you don't have an ice crusher, you can actually just fill a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag with ice and then smash it down. Use a hammer or use something to just crush the ice. Once it's in the glass now, this is a technique I actually learned from the bartenders at the bar I used to work at. You want to work in the ice and the ingredients together until the glass chills down. I just have this 3/4 full right now of ice because it gets kind of messy, and then we're gonna top it up with crushed ice at the end. So we're just gonna do this. Okay, that feels nice and frosty. I'm gonna top it up now with some more crushed ice. We want this drink to look nice and full, which is why I've filled it complete with the crushed ice. The crushed ice is also what dilutes the drink a little bit because this is just straight booze, mint leaves, and sugar. So you're gonna want some kind of like dilution, so you're not drinking straight bourbon. And then we're going to garnish it with a top sprig of mint. Again, you're going to slap the mint because that's gonna release the aroma. And there we go. So pretty. Super simple drink. That is a mint julep. I love bourbon. I don't know why I don't drink it more often. Because I use the granulated sugar as well, it's not super sweet. What would be really nice with this actually is maple syrup. I love maple syrup with bourbon. I am Canadian, so I'm a little bit biased, but I do think that maple syrup goes really nicely with bourbon. So you could use like ½ an ounce of that instead if you would prefer to do that over the white sugar. But for me, this is really nice. You can add a little bit more mint too. If your mint is a little bit more dry and not really potent, increase the amount of mint leaves you're using. If it's, like nice and fresh and super aromatic, then start off with like 4 or 5 mint leaves. Super refreshing drink, summery, and delicious. On to the next drink. Okay, next up we are going to make the Gold Rush cocktail. Again, this is really simple. It just calls for bourbon, honey syrup, which is half honey, half water. You just dilute it down on the stovetop or microwave it, and lemon juice. So this cocktail is actually a twist on the bee's knees cocktail, which is a gin-based cocktail. And it was invented in the early 2000s at the New York bar Milk and Honey. We have to shake up this cocktail, so you're gonna need a cocktail shaker. There is 2 ounces of bourbon. Calls for 1 ounce of honey syrup, but I don't like things to be super sweet, so I'm gonna start off with just 3/4 of an ounce, because I just prefer it to be a little bit less sweet. 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. And then you're gonna shake hard for 20 to 30 seconds until the cocktail shaker is really frosty. Okay, my fingers hurt and are stuck to the shaker, so it's cold enough. If you have a fat cube of ice, that's cool. If not, it's cool too. Just fill up your rocks glass with ice. It's really good. Ooh, that's good. Wow. Wow. Okay, so kind of like a whiskey sour, but you get a nice flavor of honey. Of course, there's no egg white. Lemon juice really lifts the bourbon and pairs beautifully with it. It's light, it's refreshing, really good pre-dinner drink, post-dinner drink, whatever you fancy, really. But yeah, that's good. Yep, that's the stuff. This one sounds pretty intense, and I'll be honest, I haven't made it yet. But it is called a cherry bourbon smash. I like the sound of it because cherries are in season right now. I live in the Okanagan and cherries are in abundance. So the recipe calls for half a lemon, you gotta cut it up into chunks before, handful of cherries and mint leaves, some simple syrup, I'm gonna use the honey syrup because I already have it made, and bourbon. So we're gonna start off by putting the half a lemon into your cocktail shaker, and we're gonna put in this handful of cherries. Say a little prayer we don't get cherry juice on us. We're gonna put in half an ounce of our simple syrup, which is just like a sugar syrup. Again, you could probably use maple syrup. I think maple syrup would be nice with this. And we're going to muddle that together. So I'm going to use the bottom of my wooden spoon. I'm covering it because again, I do not want cherry juice, Audrey. That would not be pleasant. And you're really trying to break down the cherries and the lemon right now together. So you keep muddling until that happens. It would have been nice if I had a real muddler for this, to be honest. I might skip ahead because this might be a little bit boring. Okay, so once you've broken down the lemon and the cherries a good bit, you're gonna throw in, the recipe calls for like 8 leaves of mint. So I'm just grabbing a little handful here, give it a little slap to break up the mint a little bit. And with the mint, it doesn't require excessive muddling, which is why we're putting in after. You just wanna kind of gently press it to release the aroma. 2 ounces of bourbon. And you're gonna fill up your shaker with ice. Now you're gonna shake it up really good again, 20 to 30 seconds until the shaker's frosty. You really wanna mix up these ingredients, so give it a good shake. Whoa, it's pink. For this one, you are gonna wanna double strain because there's a lot of fruit in there. So you just need a second little sieve. Wow, look at that color. Okay. And now for garnish. There's a couple directions we can go because there's so much in here. You could do mint, lemon, or cherry. Let's see how a cherry looks. That's quite pretty. I like that. I think that looks really delicate. You could do like, I think the recipe actually called for a sprig of mint, but I think I'm just gonna do a cherry. Ooh, that's nice. Refreshing, citrusy. You got the flavor of the mint, the cherries there too, certainly not overpowering. The ½ ounce of the simple syrup is the right call, I think. The recipe that I had actually called for 3/4 of an ounce. I thought that was gonna be too much. You could increase it to 3/4 of an ounce if it's a little too sour for you. For me, this is a taste balance. Like I like the sourness of it. So yeah, that's a hit, I like it. Very summery. If cherries are in season where you are, you should try it out. Nailed it. I'm happy with those. That was really fun, guys. Thanks for coming along while I made these summery bourbon drinks. If you are still feeling thirsty, watch this video next. Cheers. Nailed it.